Looking for the latest on the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, and Aggies? Yeah, we've got you covered. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the Sports Zone.
The number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
Yeah, trendsetter. Whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller. Yeah, reach for my goals, hit it dead center. Hit it dead center. Bullseye, hit it the most, there's no misses. Something like.
Welcome back to Hans and Scotty G right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Jake Hatch, filling in for the two guys today. Do want to remind you guys today's show is brought to you in part by our friends at Lumen Technologies. Your life moves fast. Quantum fiber internet is faster. Move up to tomorrow's speed today. That's quantumfiber.com. Check them out today. Once again, quantumfiber.com. All right, last month, late in the month, we had a chance to be out at the BYU Media Golf Tournament. It's become essentially their pseudo BYU football media day. Now that the Big 12 has a conference-wide media day, BYU doesn't do the same thing they used to do when they were an independent, but they still have a tournament. A lot of media members get together, and afterwards we have a chance to go around and talk with players and coaches. And I got the privilege of sitting down with BYU head coach Kalani Sitake to talk a lot about his program. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure on him and his team after a 5-7 season a year ago. What does he make of his roster? What does he expect from his team? Here's that conversation that I had with him at that media golf tournament.
Now, you mentioned the fact that your freshman year was 30 years ago. It's the 100th year of BYU history. How cool is that you've been associated with this university as long as you have?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I've been associated since I was born as a fan. So it's been, the fact that we're at the 100th season, it's pretty cool, you know, to be part of it. And I'm the head coach right now. It's a dream come true, man. So, for me, it's like trying to do my best to keep doing right by everyone, especially by the fans.
What is your confidence level you guys will figure out a quarterback early on in training camp and get them established?
Yeah, I'm really not nervous about the quarterback competition. It'll sort itself out. And what I do like is that we have a number of quarterbacks that can play, not just one or two. You know, so I know a lot of the attention goes to Gary and to Jake, but we have a lot of other guys that can play and that are capable. I mean, we went and got McKay, and we have Trayson. So there's a good number of guys that have experience. It's not just that they can play; they've actually done it in a college game now. And so all four of those quarterbacks have actually played in the game in the college level, and so that will work better for us having that experience behind it.
What was the rationale in bringing McKay in?
Well, I think at the beginning I really liked his game. I've known him since he's been in middle school, and so try not to be too overly biased as a coach. I really liked him. I like his game. I thought overall he throws a wonderful ball, but he has a great knowledge of the game. And when the opportunity came and he was in the portal, we were given a second chance to do it, and I'm glad A-Rod saw that and was able to work and recruit him, and it just worked out really well. He's doing a fantastic job.
We talked with A-Rod at the end of spring ball, and he talked about the fact that you guys want to get back to being more of a run emphasis, just being a physical run team. How confident are you guys you accomplished that?
Well, it starts up front, and TJ Woods is going to get that for us. It helps that you have guys that have played in games like Connor Pay and Caleb Etienne and Waylon Lapuaho and Braden Kime. Those four have played in games and started. So I think the experience is going to be key there. But the leadership that I'm seeing from Connor Pay and the other guys in the O-line, it just doesn't stop at the O-line. It's extending to the other positions, and not just on the offense, on the other side of the ball, too, on the defense and special teams. So really when the big boys talk, people listen, especially on the team. And I like that TJ has empowered these young men to get the rest of the team going. And I feel really good about where we're at right now and what I saw during spring. And then we've added some really cool pieces to give us some depth and competition.
The running back position, it seems like it's LJ, and then you also have guys like Miles. Did you guys opt purposely not to bring in a running back? What was the whole thought process?
Well, we also have Folau. So having Rapati back, and I think, I mean, he's a seasoned guy, has played a lot of games and made big plays for us. So having Folau, Hinkley, so people don't get confused, and Miles and LJ, that's a good nucleus of guys that have played. And then you add some. I mean, I think we've had the pieces that are right there with it. Sione Moa is doing good. Enoch Nawahine is a really good player too, and then Pokai Honga is going to do some good things. So it's a good group. We didn't feel like we needed to go and grab somebody out of the portal because the guys that we're developing right here are going to be just fine.
The receiver core is pretty deep. You're going to have all those guys back. What's your confidence level in them and the tight ends?
Yeah, I like the receiver group. Man, I think it's going to be a lot of fun watching them. I think the key would be getting them the ball. And so the quarterback that's going to be able to do that most consistently at a high level and be with accuracy is going to be key. But I don't need just one quarterback. I need them all to do it. So, but they're such great leaders for us. They're a big part of the offense running. But it all starts with the O-line creating space and for us to keep teams on their heels when we should be able to run the ball, throw the ball, and get points on the board. And that's going to be. I'm looking forward to our offense being back to what we're used to.
You're two with Jay Hill. Does it feel like he's settled in? Has anything changed at all?
Yeah, the defense is not an easy one to grasp. So pretty complicated, and you got to just work in the system. I think we've had like bits and parts of it in the last 8 years, and the last 7 years, and last year just kind of going completely into it. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do when you're shifting that much into it. But the second year and actually spring ball, I was really excited when I saw that it started to really take shape. And we knew that was going to be. We had to lay the foundation at some point. But I think we can start building some really cool things and adding some parts. And the guys being their second year is going to be the familiarity with it. Being able to know when you can freelance, when you can work the system instead of in the year one you're just trying to do what's right and what's actually required of you. Now our guys are able to do some other things, and that usually turns into playmaking ability.
Talking with guys, a lot of the defensive linemen pointed to the fact that they had to kind of learn a whole new, thought process with that. Do you feel like they've come along where they'll be able to hold up better against the run? Yeah,
and it's the knowing the entire what your role is, and why it matters. And so Jay's done a great job educating the guys in there. We have some seasoned guys and guys that have a lot of experience in football games, but the second year in this defense is going to be helpful for them. I promise. I mean, it's going to happen. We saw it in spring. I think Jay, you can see him. You can talk to him. He's really confident, and I share the same confidence that he has.
But you've brought in guys like Gary and Chad Kay to help out with that. How big have their roles been in helping essentially just establish what they need to do out there on the field?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's you don't have a lot of anything that goes. Sometimes there's certain things that you don't see. Now we're able to see it all. That's why having Chad and Gary involved is key. I mean, Chad's a lot more involved in the front, but he's coached at a lot of different places and P5 level, and then he's also had experiences with myself, Dave Aranda, and so looking at what the expertise that he brings is awesome. Gary is trying not to get in the way, but he's like, we all speak the same language. We all work the same system, and it just made a lot of sense for him to come and help us out. And that way, all the details are getting taken care of. And that's, I think when we were installing a new system, sometimes the folks on the details weren't done well enough, and now we're getting a lot of that.
Jack Kelly took a lot of the headlines in spring ball, but I don't think people can discount what Ben Bywater brings back as he comes back as well. What do you expect from that linebacking core?
Well, I mean, I think more than anything, Ben's leadership is awesome. So even when he wasn't on the field and he was injured last year, it was important that he was able to do things by helping Harrison come along, helping Ace Kafusi and all the other guys in that group, Ciale and Isaiah. That group is really, really deep and with tons of talent. So having Ben be the leader of them is important for us. But Jack has actually come in and done a great job being a leader as well. we have a lot of playmakers. It's just getting them in the right position so that they can just go and make those plays. And then defensively, just winning a lot more first and second down so we can create some havoc on third.
Jay might be the only coach that could probably go 7, 8, 9, 10 guys at safety deep and still continue to get production out of it.
Yeah.
How impressive was that, and how are you expecting the back end to be better this year?
The defensive backfield is his expertise. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been around and coached a lot of different places with a lot of different people, and Jay Hill is one of the best I've ever been around. So it's not just limited to the safeties. He knows the corner position, he knows the nickel position, and he can put all of that together. And so I don't have any concerns with him in the back end. And then you combine that with Gennaro Guilford, who is one of the best technicians I've ever been around, and we should have some great production. So the key is you can't make these. You got to get to the quarterback. Don't make these guys have to cover too long. But if they need to, they can do it. They've proven that. It's more about us trying to impose our will on teams, and we got to get that done. So it obviously wasn't good enough last year. And we know that, but we have addressed a lot of the deficiencies, and I'm excited to see what a lot of people don't know. We already know it's going to happen.
What is your confidence level in this team right now? Because there's a lot of people out there, there's a lot of naysayers, for lack of a better term, out there. Mm-hmm. What is your confidence level in your team?
I feel great about this team. The naysayers are the ones that don't know. They don't know all the parts that are coming in. They don't know the development of our players, and even our returning players, our veterans. So we see it. And when you don't know, it's easy just to not to vote for somebody. So I get it. And so it's just we have a different perspective because we've seen it. And I feel really good about this second year going to Big 12.
You're coming up on a decade as BYU's head coach. Do you feel like you've settled in at this point? Like, what's your feeling looking at your past, but also looking at the future now?
I can't believe it's been that many years. You know, I'm going to year 9. I'm having so much fun. I love it. I'm getting older. That's the only thing. But this is a lot of fun. This is something that I enjoy. I hate saying that it's work because I love this life. You know, so being involved with football, with the people, the fans, all of it, I just absolutely enjoy. And so this has been a dream come true. I'm going to keep rolling with it as long as I can.
Last thing for me is, as you look forward to the season, what's been the biggest difference from the independent era to the Big 12 era, now that you've had a year of experience underneath your belt?
Well, just access and then the ability to get to certain players, recruits, things like that. There's a curiosity out there about us, and so it's brought more eyes. And now that it's kind of like the excuses that people used to always use against us in recruiting is that, they're not in a power conference. Well, now we are in a power conference, and then now the excuses are from our opponents. They've only been in the power conference for 1 year. So it's like people are always going to have things to say. I love the ways that we're trending. Obviously, we know the deficiencies, the areas of improvement that we need to make. We're addressing them, and we'll all find out in August. It'll be a lot of fun.
There you go, Kalani Sitake. That was at the BYU Media Golf Tournament. And Lloyd, you heard him talk about the fact that they have more knowledge simply having gone through a year in the Big 12. And I liken this a lot to what Utah experienced when they first made their transition to the Pac-12. You don't really know what you know until you've gone through it. They talked for the 2-ish years before BYU joined the conference that they were doing as much groundwork as they could to be ready for it, but they couldn't ever fully be ready until they actually were in it.
Now, even obviously Utah was getting ready to be in a P5.
Yes.
And similar for BYU, but going into a new league is always different anyway. I mean, Mark Harlan said at Media Day that they talked to BYU about it, about
what's the Big 12
what's
like?
the Big 12 like, and getting a feel for it as well. And so, but yeah, they had to get used to it. It's a next level. You saw the difference in athletes from BYU, and you see. Right now, BYU's behind the 8 ball a little bit. Mm-hmm. A little bit more so than what Utah was going. I mean, Utah competed in the first little bit, but then they dropped back down.
They went 9-4 and back-to-back 5-7 years, and that's to be expected. Like, you're making a transition to the highest level that BYU's literally ever competed at, and it's going to take some time for them to get up to speed. And Jake, Scott, and PK were talking about it this morning, that what does success look like for BYU this season? I think PK is right in saying that if you get to 6-6 and you go to the bowl season, that constitutes success because you've gotten back to the postseason. You avoided a second straight losing year, and I think that would speak to the process that BYU is going to undergo here. Remember, Utah took 6 years at least before they really became the power that they were in the Pac-12.
When Greg Wrubell pumped the brakes last year,
yes,
it was like, if they are able to go to a bowl game, that's a success. I'm like, geez, that's really, Greg? And sure enough, it was like if they were able to, that would have been a notch in that would have been a big deal getting to a bowl game. And I think since they didn't get to a bowl game, getting to a bowl game this year would be a big deal.
Well, and talking with players and coaches, you can tell that they're absolutely all over that. The other thing about it is, I don't know if you've seen some of the videos that their their in-house media have been putting out, Lloyd. They had one, this goes back almost two-ish weeks ago, where they were showing the strength and conditioning staff putting the players through a workout. And they were essentially like making fun of the team, saying, hey, you guys want to go 5-7 again? Keep doing what you're doing right now in these workouts. It's a motivating factor. They know that they did not meet the expectations they had for themselves, but it's kind of funny because one of the strength coaches was quoted saying, yeah, you want to go 5-7? Keep doing what you're doing right now. That's 5-7 quality. And that's exactly, I think, what Kalani and his staff are trying to get in these young men's minds, is that this requires a higher commitment. It requires a higher level of play, a higher level of athlete overall. You're seeing that as BYU goes out and recruits, that they're looking at better overall talent. They can learn a lot from what Utah went through, but conversely, as Utah comes into this conference this year, Lloyd, you pointed out the fact that Mark Harlan said, I've talked to Tom, I've talked to BYU to ask them what to expect as we go into the Big 12. Yes, these two programs are fierce rivals on the field, but they are very much brothers in arms, and they're going to help each other out as they move forward here in kind of this new era of the Big 12. It's kind of funny to consider that we've got them back together in the Big 12 conference of all places, but welcome to the crazy world of realignment.
That it is. And the thing is, you know what? Utah, have you given your early prediction on Utah yet?
I think they win it.
You think they win it all, huh?
I think they're going to the playoff. I think they're going to win the Big 12 title, and they're going to make the run. They're going to be in the playoff. Now, how deep they go in that playoff, TBD. But the point you made earlier, it's all about health.
If they are able to stay. And by the way, if they're not able to stay healthy, then I think they're going to have to. I think Kyle Whittingham and his staff are going to have to look at what they're doing, because you know what Kyle does during camp. Like they go all out. It's been their thing. It's typically what's been different from BYU, that they in camp they usually hold things back and they're not hitting like they're supposed to, and there's been some questioning with that and maybe some strength and conditioning a little bit at times.
Kyle likes to push the envelope.
But Kyle likes to push it, and maybe last year it didn't work out and push the envelope. I mean, I know they had some injuries that were out of their control.
I heard another interview with him down at the Big 12 Media Days that he said they went back and kind of evaluated what they did with their strength and conditioning and trying to pinpoint.
It is amazing how on point these guys are with everything they do. And I'm talking, you're talking from diet to everything, everything that they do as far as getting ready for the season.
I can tell you that BYU players, they have a team-specific dietitian down at BYU that has individual player-like meal plans for them. They lay out, okay, you need X amount of protein every day. You need this many carbs. They've got it broken down to a science, and I know Utah's doing the exact same thing. Utah's been on it for years now, making sure that guys are as top, I don't know how to, they want top performing level that they possibly can get them to. And a lot of that goes to the diet and the strength and conditioning. Doug Elisaya, the head strength and conditioning coach up there at Utah, he's a legend in that field. And I know that he, along with Kyle Whittingham, they underwent a pretty extensive look at how they went about things last year, trying to pinpoint if anything inside the program caused some of those injuries. So you'll probably see them adjust how they go about training camp this year. BYU does the same thing. It's an ongoing process. I do think that Kalani is going to push the envelope a little bit more this year, Lloyd, in terms of the actual hitting and getting after it. He understands that you don't want to put guys at risk health-wise, but as he talks about all the time, the only way to get better at playing football is to actually play football. You can't just step away from it and expect guys to be able to hit and tackle in games when you don't do it in practice. And it'll be an interesting year ahead for the Cougars because, I think 6-6, that's got to be the mark at minimum of success for BYU and getting back to the bowl season. Whereas in the case of Utah, well, you have the big target on your back. You are the favorite. It's a different stratosphere that each of these programs are existing in, but it's fun to have them back in the same conference. And November 9th is going to be here before we know it, and obviously we'll get ready for that when it gets here. All right, coming up on the other side, we're announcing number 30 today, correct, in the 60 and 60? So
that is correct.
Halfway.
Halfway point.
Hey, folks, we're getting close. That means we're halfway towards the football season. We'll announce number 30 and the 60 and 60 coming up next, as well as catching up and getting an Open Championship update from Brian Taylor right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
The Jazz can't make their roster better right now because there's no player out there that makes them better. But the one player that would make everyone else better is the player you currently have. So the Jazz are in this weird situation where they do have this all-star level player, but they don't have the pieces around him to win big. So what do you do? And that's what they're stuck in here. And I think that's what they're struggling with is we don't want to trade Lauri Markkanen because this is a special talent. He's an all-star. This is a guy that's 7 feet that can shoot 40% from three, that has freak athleticism for his size. He is the quintessential athlete. He's almost generational in his athleticism and his skill set and the way his body's built. So giving him away sucks. So they're not going to give him away. They're going to want a lot.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is the top 60 and 60. As the Zone counts you down to the start of the 2024 college football season. And now, it's time for today's selection, as voted on by the local sports media and you, the fans. In his first season at BYU, the next selection wasted little time in taking over as a full-time starter while helping anchor the Cougar offensive line, and will be asked to have an even better season this year. At number 30, from Brigham Young University, 6'4", 310-pound offensive lineman, Waylon Lapuaho. Brigham Young University head coach, Kalani Sitake.
Waylon Lapuaho, fantastic guard, has ability to pull and to be physical down an inside run, has great footwork to get out there on the outside run, and has great feet for pass rush. He has complete mix of what you want from an interior O-lineman. Tough, physical, understands the game, and a great team leader.
This is the Top 60 and 60, presented by 5 Star Painting on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Number 30, Waylon Lapuaho from BYU. And I want to remind you guys that the 60 and 60 is sponsored by our good friends over at 5 Star Painting. Summer is the season for exterior painting. Get a fresh new look with our friends at 5 Star Painting. Free estimates, free paint, best reviews, unrivaled service. 5 Star Painting. That's 5starpainting.com. All right. Waylon is an incredible player, by the way. Let me just insert that I've been covering BYU for quite a while, and the coaches are very excited for him in the second year as they kind of forge ahead in the Big 12. His capability is he's capable of playing both guard spots, and that versatility is going to be really, really key for BYU this year. And I think that Waylon's poised to have a really, really breakout type season for the Cougars. And I looked up my rankings, by the way, on the 30 and 30, and I had him at number 28 on my list, so right in the realm of where I had him on my rankings going into this season. All right. Let's pivot here and talk Open Championship. Royal Troon showed its teeth the last 2 days. Brian Taylor from Real Golf Radio joins us now, so let's get to it.
This Uinta Golf Open Championship update is brought to you by Mountain Land Supply, Zions Bank, Black Desert Resort, Hoops Vision, and Siegfried and Jensen. And now, Real Golf Radio's Brian Taylor.
All right, BT, we have Shane Lowry has been able to master the elements out there at Royal Troon. He's 7 under. What has he shown that has allowed him to stand apart from the rest of the crowd out there at the Open Championship?
Hey, Jake, it's good to talk to you. Thanks for having me on. Doing a great job. Shane Lowry, this is like made for the Northern Irishman. I mean, this is a guy that, everybody else is out complaining about these conditions and how tough it is. And Shane's out there like, what are y'all making a big? This is like everyday, summertime Ireland. So what he's doing is controlling the ball with treacherous, windy conditions off the tee. And what I mean by that is he is able to hit a fade that goes into a right to left wind and holds the ball in and goes onto the fairway. He's able to hit a big draw shot with the wind to add a little extra distance where he needs to. He can stripe it down the middle with a low bullet if he needs to. His short game has been really good, and his putter has been especially yesterday, kind of saved the round. When you go back and look at Shane Lowry and his stats and how he's been playing this year, the putter has been kind of the nemesis. He's been a terrific, tee-ball, I think like top 15 on the tour this year off the tee, top 10 iron guy. But the putter's been, not so great. And the putter this week is coming together, and his game is just really, really sharp. I'm a big fan of Shane Lowry. I think Shane Lowry is the kind of tour player you want to cheer for. He seems happy. He's fun. He's the guy you'd want to go play around a golf with or just sit down and hang out with. And I love what he's doing right now. And he's definitely the class of the tournament thus far.
Now, should we be surprised that he's atop the leaderboard, but the two guys just behind him that are tied for second are both Englishmen and Justin Rose and Daniel Brown?
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Brown's obviously a surprise playing in his first major championship. And, it's a guy that plays on the DP World Tour, has got one win. He did have a 54-hole lead earlier this year, shot 75 and wasn't able to convert. But, he's a little bit in dreamland. I don't know how long that's going to last. But, look, Todd Hamilton won here. He was in dreamland, and he hoisted the claret jug. So it's not as if, the Troon hasn't given up a surprise winner. But Justin Rose is a great story. Justin Rose won the U.S. Open a long time ago.
Yes.
And he made his debut as a teenager, at Lytham and St. Anne's. He holed out a shot as a really young kid and made his introduction to the Open Championship. And he's been a great professional for a long time. The the Open Championship, maybe more than any other, tends to lend itself to older champions. And so don't count Justin Rose out. He's got the experience, and he seems to be playing some really good golf. Although Justin, if you had a knock on Justin, it would be that he seems to put his nose in there over the first couple of rounds and fades on the weekend. Not trying to jinx him, wishing him the best, but I think that's a strong leaderboard.
Now, I want to have you explain something. I think you talked with PK about this earlier this morning on DJ and PK. Shane Lowry essentially made a scouting trip to Royal Troon not that long ago that you think may have allowed him to have a leg up on the rest of the field. Is that right?
Yeah, so when he was over a little bit differently, a lot of the field was playing the Scottish Open last week. Shane Lowry decided that he was just going to go home and hang out. Took his wife, went to Wimbledon for a day, and did a scouting trip on his own to go play a Royal Troon. And while he was there, he practiced in this south wind. The rest of the players, they showed up to Troon. The wind wasn't like this all week until Thursday. And so it really surprised a lot of the guys, and they've been struggling. So call it luck, call it fate, whatever you want, but it just sort of happened that he got a couple of rounds in with this same wind. And it's amazing to me when you have a true links course that sits on the seaside, how much control the wind has on how the golf course plays. It's the same yardage. It's the same hole locations. It's all of those things. And yet, for some reason, the direction of the wind makes it play completely differently.
Well, and you talk about link-style golf. It's very much a different format of just how you have to play your rounds because these courses are not like a lot of the courses here stateside.
Oh, 100%, right? And it's a different style of golf. You need to be able to control trajectory in a lot of ways. You need to be able to control ball flight, certainly, and then you've got to be able to also be super patient through adversity. It's not very often. Tony Finau, for example.
Yeah.
Tony Finau got just sideways today, and he had a couple of drives that ended up in the gorse. And it ended up costing him the entire tournament. He's out. And, it's like you're talking double bogeys, triple bogeys, that can come from these lost balls. And even Shane Lowry had an issue where he made a double bogey today when his ball got into a bad spot, and he bounced back. He was able to stay calm and didn't let it derail him, and he's still there. So you just have to know in the Open you're going to make some big numbers. So is everybody else, and you just try to minimize the damage.
What are we looking at weather-wise over the weekend? Are we expecting more of the same with that south wind and some rain potentially?
Yeah, the wind actually is going to subside just a little bit, but what you're going to have is a kind of a soaker rain tomorrow. The kind of that drizzle.
Sweet rain gear coming out again.
What's that?
The rain gear's going to be coming out again then for the guys.
Exactly. Yep, rain gear coming out. So the winds will dry. So I'll be interested to see how it plays. I mean, PK and I talked about this. I think for the most part, other than keeping your grips dry, you'd rather play in a little, wet conditions rather than having to battle those winds that are crossing those fairways. So I would think that maybe on your traditional moving day, you might actually see some movement, where some guys could get out early and post some numbers and maybe jump up that leaderboard a little bit. So and then Sunday's supposed to be actually the nicest day of the week. So we'll see how it all plays out. But good looking leaderboard. A lot of big names down the road. Tiger obviously not playing well, 14 over par. Rory McIlroy had a struggle. So there's a lot of guys that Royal Troon got the better of this week for sure.
So the projected cut currently sitting at 6 over. There's a handful of guys still out there on the course finishing up play here at Royal Troon. I saw this yesterday, and you can kind of give us some insight on this. The tee times originally to start the tournament came at 11:35 p.m. Mountain Time, and I saw somebody tweet almost 10 hours later. It said 9 hours and 52 minutes between the first and last tee times at Royal Troon. Kind of shows how different just a day can be for these guys, depending on where you go out in your round.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, they start at 6:30 in the morning and go till around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's because it's the middle of the summer over there and they've got all the daylight, they can send everybody off the first tee. And a lot of other, most of the championships in the U.S., except for the Masters, which has a limited field, they send them off 1 and 10, in order to, deal with the daylight and that sort of thing. So that's why the tee times are so spread out. And they go threesomes. They'll cut it down to twosomes for the weekend. Obviously, the field's cut, low 70 in ties. And so you got fewer players, and the tee times will be a little bit more compressed, but they go out in twosomes, and it'll be so yeah. And during those hours, you could have 3 different seasons that come through. But it's been pretty steady. I would say there definitely is a little bit of a negative side of the draw. I think it was late early, probably got the worst of it. Mm-hmm. But that said, it's been fairly consistently difficult wins for all the players out there.
Now, we talked about the guys at the top of the leaderboard, but the man, the myth, the legend, that is Scotty Scheffler, he is 2 under right now, so he's in the mix. Patrick Cantlay at 1 under. You mentioned the fact that the leaderboard's shaping up pretty good for this weekend. Where do you think these guys need to be going in to the final round if they really want to challenge for this tomorrow?
A lot of it depends on what Lowry does, and Rose. Those guys at 7 and 5. Those guys go out and post a low number and run away and hide. Henrik Stenson did that in 2016. He and Phil Mickelson separated themselves, and it was basically a mano between those two players. But generally speaking, as I kind of did some research on Troon, it's around 10 to 13 under par has been the winning score. Now, weather has been certainly some of the higher scores that they've seen have been this year, and so I don't know that they're going to get to 10. I mean, I could see 10. I mean, that's talking Lowry, getting 3 under over the next 2 rounds. I could see that happening. So I do think you're probably going to have to, if you're sitting there, Scotty Scheffler at 2 under par, you got to kind of figure I need to shoot, probably 6-7 under just to have a chance, and hope that like I said, the leaders don't go run away.
How little sleep do you and Bob get on a week like this?
I'm getting old, bro, and I kind of killed myself Thursday. I was up at like 1, checking leaderboard. Then I got up, then I tried to go back. I went back to sleep till like 2:30, and then I finally got up at 4. And I haven't recovered. I'm still not recovering. I drink way too much caffeine this week and run on some crazy sleep. But it's fun. Like it's disruptive. It's hard follow because, again, the coverage goes for so long, as we just talked about.
Yeah.
And so you try to catch these two waves. It's almost like watching two golf tournaments in the same day, which is really difficult to do, and to try to keep some sort of like grasp on it all, especially when half of it's in the middle of the night for us. But we'll try to make sense of it all tomorrow morning on the show for sure. We've got some good guests that are over there in Scotland, and we'll kind of break down where things stand. A lot of interesting stuff around, Tiger and some of the other guys that aren't playing the weekend as well.
Well, I was going to ask you, so what are we looking at? What's your lineup tomorrow going to look like?
Yeah, so Rex Hogger from Golf Channel stepped in. Unfortunately, we just missed out. I was hoping to have my good buddies, Greg Allen from the Ireland Radio, who's been following Shane and Rory through this. Both of them have an opposite ends of the spectrum as far as the experiences this week, but we couldn't time that one up. And then we've got the caddy stopping by as always, and then Dave Neville, Callaway Golf. We've taken a little step aside from Golf Talk to talk a little equipment. They just released a brand new wedge. They're calling it their Opus, and so we had to get some insights on that. So a little wedge talk amongst the Open Championship talk coming up tomorrow morning, 8 to 10, right here on the Zone.
That should be interesting. I always enjoy when you have conversations with the caddy. It's always insightful to hear from a guy who's literally inside the ropes and can kind of give you a feel for how things are going on the tour. It's one of my favorite parts of your guys' show, by the way.
Well, thank you. And most people say that. He is an incredible storyteller with a lot of stories to tell.
He
so
does.
Nice.
And the best part is they seem to be never ending. There's just zero doubt about that. Well, BT, get some sleep, first off, but thank you for all of your coverage. Of course, we'll be tracking this all weekend long, and big thank you to you for taking the time throughout these major championships to hop on with us throughout the week.
You got it. And I was going to tell Hans, but I know he's not in today, the Golf Channel's Rich Lerner likened Shane Lowry's beard to Merlin Olsen.
Oh.
I thought that was kind of how they went on. So I was going to let Hans know that Uncle Merlin got some run at the Open Championship on Golf Channel today. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, we may have to have you back on when he's back in studio, and you can kind of explain that. But I'm sure he'll hear it as well. That's actually kind of funny. Merlin Olsen. There we go.
Yeah, so that was a stretch back for Rich Lerner. I was reaching back in the day. He even referenced his Little House on the Prairie time. So that was impressive.
Okay, yeah. So. Well, there you go. Well, BT, thanks for the time, and we'll catch up with you again soon, all right?
All right, you got it.
There you go.
Thanks.
Brian Taylor from Real Golf Radio. Tune in tomorrow morning, 8 to 10 a.m. They do a great job, and they cover literally the width and depth of the the golf world out there. And that's the thing about it is they're going to have some wedge talk tomorrow. They're going to have the caddy. They'll have it all for you. So no matter what you're into in the golf world, they've got an answer for you. That's Real Golf Radio, Saturday mornings from 8 to 10 a.m. All right. Coming up on the other side, we'll kind of get back into the sports world. We've got something going on here on TV. We've got NFL flag football, and it's the youth league. So we're talking U15, so 8th, 9th graders competing. This is a new thing in the world of sports, flag football. The NFL is all in on this, and we'll talk more about that coming up next right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
This is the whole thing the Jazz are doing. This is why I get a lot of fans have been frustrated with the decisions at the deadline. It's that the Jazz don't care if you win 45 games with Kelly Olynyk on your roster, because you're not actually closer to anything. Right. You're not close to winning a title because you win 45 games with Kelly Olynyk. They don't care about that. That is the one thing I think Danny Ainge has really revealed is he doesn't care about the Band-Aid if you're going to bleed to death. We can look back at the Jazz for the last 40 years, basically my entire life, and say, outside of 2 trips to the finals, it's been a lot of winning that hasn't gotten you to the finish line. And if that's enough for some people, I get it. I don't think it's enough for what this Jazz front office is saying, and it's really not enough for what Ryan Smith has said. And he's come on these airwaves a lot of times and said, I want to win a championship. I don't care how painful it is.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back to Hans and Scotty right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, so the world of football is expanding, and we all know this. The NFL wants to dominate quite literally worldwide if at all possible. But the problem is the supermajority of the players that play this sport reside here stateside. The way the NFL is going to expand, though, is they're going all in on flag football. The 2028 Olympic Games in Los Angeles are going to have flag football, Lloyd. And don't give me that look. I know you're like, why are we talking about flag football here? I'm watching it on my TV right now. They've got these U15 championships for boys and girls going on. And these are teams from all over the country who have advanced through all kinds of different tournaments. I'm telling you, the NFL, the way they're going to expand that sport is via flag football.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense for the youth to start with flag football.
That's my son's
the world.
Going into play. He's going to play his 4th season of flag football coming up this fall. They have spring and fall leagues, so we've played 3 successive ones, and I really do think this is if the NFL really wants to go for world domination, quote unquote. This is how you do it. You export it this way. Because it has both the male and female element to it, but it's also you're not exposing a bunch of young kids in the world that have never played this sport to the violent nature of it early on. Now, if they want to advance, we're seeing pro leagues pop up in Europe. Norm Chow, of all people, is coaching in Switzerland right now.
Huh?
Yeah. There's a European professional football league that he's like the GM and head coach of.
Did he just decide he wanted a vacation in this certain area, and that's why he's in Switzerland coaching?
That part,
I'm going to be vacationing there anyways, so let's do it.
That part I don't know, but I can tell you. So I was out on some parental leave in April, and I was down in St. George. I don't know if I told you the story actually, even off the air. I got a call from Norm Chow randomly one day when I was down in St. George. I'm like, why is Norm Chow calling me? So I answered, I'm like, Coach Chow, what's up, man? He's like, Jake, hey, and he was talking about some like financial thing that he was trying to get figured out and everything.
Are you sure that was Norm Chow and not just somebody trying to hit you up for some money?
No, it was Norm.
Like a scam? Are you sure?
It was legitimately Norm because about 3 minutes into the call, he's like, hold on. This is Jake Hatch, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, Jake, I'm supposed to talk to, I remember Jake's name was, who apparently is like the finance guy for this team over in Switzerland. So he was... So he confused his Jakes when he called me up.
Okay, when you just started saying finance and stuff, I was like, man, that sounds like something's trying to scam you.
Well, trust me.
That might not be Norm Chow that called you.
For a minute there,
do not give them any money, Jake.
I was concerned. But, that's how I found out he's coaching in Switzerland. So
okay.
But the thing about this is you're going to see this become a bigger and bigger thing. It's being featured on ESPN too. They've got these championships. They just had one of the boys' games wrap up. They've got and the thing is, there's a team from Jacksonville playing in this. They had Yorktown, Ohio. My son has played, so this is the NFL Flag Football League. Teams from Utah are competing in this, so you're going to see this expand. And it's going to get
like 7-on-7. What is it?
I think this one. I think it's 5-on-5. Yeah, it's 5-on-5. It's a smaller field. It's a compacted field. You have a guy snap the ball, but all 4 of the other players outside the quarterback are live in terms of the passing game. It's a fast-paced sport, and as it gets closer and closer to LA 28 down there in Los Angeles, you're going to see more and more of this flag football thing because the NFL is all in on expanding that way.
Pretty much 2 people touch the ball.
Yeah.
On the team.
Well,
and it's only those 2 people for the whole game that touch the ball.
I saw
that's kind of how flag football is.
Yeah, and I saw a social media post. So this is U15. So these kids are 14 years old. There was a team that's got 6 guys on their squad who are 6 foot or taller. It's like Little League Baseball all over again. Find like the freakiest of the athletes in your local area, get them all together on the same team, and let's go for world domination here. So keep an eye on it. It's going to be a bigger thing. I know that flag football is kind of a thing you think of for young kids. It's only going to get bigger. You're going to see Tyreek Hill has talked about playing in the LA Olympics on one of those flag football teams. And the idea of Tyreek Hill wearing flags and flashing the peace sign as he runs past somebody from like Germany is...
Oh, just don't get hurt, man. You know, when I always think of these, and I think of the bad decision it was to have at the Pro Bowl, essentially flag football in the sand. And do you remember the New England Patriots big-time cornerback that was wrecked his career?
Yeah.
I'm going blank on his name, but he was a big deal. It wasn't Ty Law. It was somebody else.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think of the name. I know what you're talking about. And that's the issue. That
shredded his knee in the sand.
And these NFL teams, they're going to be very reticent to let anybody do that. Now, at that point in 28, Tyreek Hill might be at the point where he's essentially maybe a free agent at that point and could play in it. But you're going to see this continue to expand as we go along here because the NFL, they want to literally expand worldwide, add to an already impressive fan base. They're cashing $100 billion contracts now, media rights wise, and flag football is kind of the next frontier for them to expand it even further.
It was Robert Edwards.
Yeah, okay,
that was the rookie standout that was going that had the injury.
These NFL teams, they want their assets, and I use the term asset. I don't mean it in a negative way, but they look at these young men that they bring into their franchise as legitimately assets, and they're trying to set them up to make sure that they can play the best football they can. And when you go and do what a guy like Robert Edwards did, or let's say this comes up in the Olympics and they try and get some NFL guys to go play in it, yeah, I'm thinking some NFL teams are going to be like, yeah, we're not so sure about that.
Yeah, good luck with that.
It doesn't seem like it's... But hey, I, for one, if Tyreek Hill wants to play flag football, I'd love to see him, like I said, blow by some dude from Great Britain as he's flashing the peace sign on his way to scoring a touchdown. All right, we will come back on the other side, and Alex Curie, obviously from JJ and Alex, he is doing an extra hour of radio, and he'll join us next right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.